Chapter 15, David. The destruction of the ghettos shattered the wall Jacob had built to hold back his feelings. He couldn't stop worrying about what was left of his family. Even Uncle Galler hadn't come around since his operation. He hadn't seen Aunt Hannah, his grandmother, or David for 2 years. He longed to know how they were, but was afraid to ask. Looking up at the dirt-encrusted window, he heard more than saw feet splashing through puddles. Another gray, rainy day. Not that weather made any difference to him. It had been a long time since he had seen the outdoors. From what the Roselands told him, he wasn't missing much. The entire city looked like the ghetto, with sick, starving, and homeless people wandering the streets. Sighing, Jacob picked up the Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling, eager to leave Poland for the wilds of India. "Read to me," Mariska asked, looking up from her mending. Jacob nodded, glad to have his friend along to share the adventure with him. A knock at the door made them both jump. No one had come to their new apartment in the month they had lived there. Jacob stepped into a closet in the bathroom while Mariska looked with worried eyes at her mother. Mela stood on her toes and peeked through the peephole, relieved to see Galler's familiar little beard. "Come in," she said warmly, looking at the small boy beside him. Mela smiled warily. "Let us guess. This must be David." The 5-year-old grinned, each cheek relieving a deep dimple. Bold ringlets covered his head. Where's Jacob?" David piped. Before Mela could answer, Jacob rushed out the bathroom. "David!" Jacob shouted, running over to hug his brother. The small boy squealed with pleasure. "You've gotten bigger," Jacob told him. David nodded happily. The front door swung open. Alex walked into the apartment and pretended surprise at the visitors. "Is someone having a party?" David looked up and said, "Hi, Alex." Everyone in the room except Galler blinked surprise. Mela's eyes narrowed with suspicion as Alex sheepishly began to explain. "Galler thought I should see David, see how he was. So I've been out to the farm a few times." "What a mess," he cried, flinging his arms in the air. Mela waited patiently. "David told me the farmer's 10-year-old daughter kept dragging him into the barn to play doctor. She tried to get him to undress, and he ran out of reasons why he didn't want to." "As you can see, Galler," Mela said dryly, "we already don't have enough room for the 5 of us, so what difference can 6 make?" Alex clapped his hand on Galler's shoulder and said, "You shouldn't be here at this hour. Let me walk you out." As soon as they were alone, Alex asked, what happened to the rest of the family? Galler burst into tears and said, "Gone, all of them. For me, it's just a matter of time." But he broke off, regained his composure, and said, all that matters is that I helped get my sister's children out. Take care of them, Alex. You are my only hope." Galler turned and left in a foggy rain, unwilling to say goodbye. Teddick, little Teddy, as David was called, fit into the family immediately. Everyone, even Yurik, treated him like a pet. "He's so cute," Mariska squealed as David beamed, shaking his curls and offering him dimples in reply. In the evening, Alex would set David and Mariska on his lap while they combed his hair. On the other hand, Jacob's delight in having his remaining brother with him quickly wore off. However, many times he had dreamed of seeing David again, especially after Sholom's death. Jacob found his presence an intrusion that took attention away from him. "Even his Polish name is nicer than mine," he fretted. Jeniak, yeah. He was so jealous. He could barely speak to or look at David. He not only didn't play with him, but never allowed David to participate when he read or played a game with Yurik and Mariska. "You're still a baby, Teddick," Jacob taunted, causing David to cry and scream. It was July 1944, and the apartment was stifling. Home alone, Jacob stood by the open window, taking in a muggy air, while David played in the park with Mariska. "It's not fair," Jacob whined to Mela. Mela shrugged. "What's not fair, Jeniak?" "That the Germans are killing Jews and Poles every day. Dad's blonde hair makes him look Polish, and he can go outside," Jacob shouted. Overhearing the conversation, Alex put a hand on Jacob's shoulder and interjected, "Jeniak, everyone's nerves are tight. Sometimes I think I could slit a throat. I promise you won't have to stay inside forever." Jacob was about to protest that he was tired of promises, but he fell silent. Alex and Mela had enough trouble without his complaining. "We'll be back later," Mela said. Alex needed her help in getting a little flour and sugar. When Mariska comes home, tell her to stay here with David, Jacob responded silently, wanting to disappear into the Jungle Book. David and Mariska returned an hour later, flushed and sweaty. "Jeniak," David panted, running up to Jacob. Guess what I saw? A dog with 3 legs. Big deal," Jacob muttered. "Don't bother me, I'm busy." David hung over his shoulder. "Please show me how to read," he begged. Jacob didn't bother to reply. "I hate you," David yelled. Turning to Mariska, he asked, "Can we go back to the park?" Mariska hesitated, unsure. Before David came, she liked to be home with Jacob. Yurek ignored her, but Jacob insisted that sometimes she be included in their games. When Yurek wasn't around, Jacob needed no coaxing to read or do puzzles with her. Later, however, Mariska liked having David as an excuse to go outside. She had begun to feel caged, excused to go out, confined by the house. When she was in the park, she played ball, ran for the pleasure of the free motion. Sometimes she forgot to be afraid. Although she hungrily searched for old friends, what would she do if she found one? She certainly couldn't walk over to say hello without betraying too much. Her schoolmates had stopped coming to her house, and the day Janek came to live with them. "Hold it," Jacob said, putting his finger in the book to mark his place. "You can't go out." Aunt Mella said she would be gone for 2 hours. "Everyone's supposed to stay here. You're just saying that because you can't go out," David said. "Mariska, please, I really want to go outside." Mariska considered this, looking at both boys. "Okay, Tedek, just for a little while. We have to be back before Mama comes home." Jacob shook his head. Don't do it, Dave. Tedek, he warned. David stuck out his tongue at his brother and left the room, walking hand in hand with Mariska.